Hey, Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from Hugh Boysenberry 9958. Before we do get into the story, I just want to give you some warnings that there is mentions of suicide and depression. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. Now this story is titled, Wife Told Me Someone Else is Her Soulmate. My wife, Em, met her best friend, Chuck, in high school. They became close friends and Chuck came out to Em as gay. Em was supportive. A year or so later, Chuck came out to his parents. They disowned him and kicked him out, and Chuck ended up living with Em and her parents for the rest of high school. Em and I started dating after college, and she told me all about Chuck and how close they were and how he was like a brother. I met Chuck and we got along and became friends. Chuck is a good guy. At the time, Chuck was dating a guy. They ended up moving in together about the same time that Em and I got engaged. Em and I have been married for 5 years now. I'm a project manager and took on a year-long project in another city. I have to leave at 5:30 a.m. every morning and get home around 6:30 p.m. Em and I had a long talk about my job before I took on this project. We knew it would be a sacrifice for me to be working so much, but I'm getting more money than I ever thought I would. After this project, we can pay off our student debt and start trying to have a baby. We both agreed the money was worth it since it's only a year. That year will be up in late November. In March, Chuck caught his boyfriend cheating. He was devastated. Em immediately told him he could move in with us. I was fine with him moving in, but not happy that Em didn't even discuss it with me first. Chuck was pretty broken up and Em was giving him lots of love and attention. I was fine with it because I know how much she loves Chuck and he did need her. I did my best to support him and make him feel loved. For a while, this was fine. But as time went on, Em has continued to pour all of her attention into Chuck. Sometimes I get home from work and neither of them are there. I found out they went to a movie or out to get dinner. I don't think there is anything romantic or sexual between them, but it's been annoying that I get left out of all the plans. The past few weeks, several things have happened. The three of us went to a party and someone joked about Chuck being our third wheel, and Em said, Chuck is not the third wheel. I said, what? And she said, I've known Chuck longer than I've known you. A week or so after that, Em and Chuck went out dancing one night. I had to work the next day, so I stayed home. I woke up about 3 a.m. and Em was not in bed. I went and found her and Chuck cuddled up on the couch asleep with the TV on. Both of those things made me uncomfortable. I also realized I had been working so much, I was just sort of letting Em and Chuck plan everything. I had not planned a date night in a while. I decided I needed to be more active and I planned a date night for last Friday. When I first told Em, she was excited, as we had not been on a date, just the two of us in a while. Friday, I got home at 6:30 and Em and Chuck were not there. I took a shower and got ready. About 7:15, I finally called Em, as we had reservations at 8. She answered, and when I asked where she was, she said her and Chuck had gone shopping and were getting some dinner. I was kind of stunned and asked her about our date. She laughed and said, oh, I forgot. Oh well. And that was that. She didn't even invite me to join them. So a point I should make here. My dad was very controlling of my mum and had an anger problem where he would yell and throw things. He never threw things at us, but it was still scary as a kid. I've worked very hard not to be like him. I try to never be controlling of Em or tell her what to do. I also tend to shut down when I get angry. When Em forgot our date, I was mad, so I didn't say anything right then, but I knew I needed to address how I was feeling. So later that evening, I told her we needed to talk. I'd written down some things so I could stay focused. I started by saying that I loved Chuck and he was always welcome in our home, but I felt like our marriage was suffering and we needed to work on us. Em blew up. She thought I was attacking Chuck. I guess I didn't word things well, and she started defending him and attacking me. We have never been in a big fight before. We always talk and work things out. I was stunned that she was attacking me. She said some awful things. And she said, Chuck is my soulmate, and you just have to get used to that. I just shut down. I didn't even know how to process that. I I love Em more than anything in the world, but in that moment, I realized she loved Chuck more than she loves me. I thought Em and I were soulmates, but to hear her say she considered someone else her soulmate has been devastating. I don't remember the rest of the talk. She huffed off after a while and slept on the couch. Her and Chuck left together on Saturday and were gone most of the day. When they got back, she's acting like nothing had happened. On Sunday, she even made a small joke and batted her eyes at me. Something she does when she's flirting with me. Normally, I love it, but this time it just made me sick. I told her this was a busy week at work and I was going to stay at a hotel near the job site. Something I've done a few times before. So, I haven't seen her since Sunday night. I don't know what to do. Typing all this up has made me realize I'm really burnt out with all this travel. Maybe I checked out too much and haven't given her enough attention. How do I move forward knowing she will never love me as much as I love her? Minor updates. I'm seeing a bunch of comments from women who say they have more than one soulmate has given me hope. Me, you only have one soulmate, but that's not a word Em or I ever really use. I just hope she means it different than how I took it. We have been texting back and forth some this week, and we spoke on the phone last night. It wasn't anything big. She just called and said she missed me and couldn't wait until I got home. I'll be home tonight. I told her we should talk about our fight last Friday, and she agreed. I said she hates that we fought and we need to work it out. She said she loves me. We will be talking tonight, and I guess we'll find out where I stand. And we're starting the comments with Loud Capital, who says, huh? The second my spouse tells me someone else is their soulmate is the second I leave. Not to be extreme, but it sounds like she made a decision to prioritize the relationship with her friend over your marriage. Opie responds and says, this is where I struggled so much. I understand her temporarily making him a priority because he was going through a hard time, but it's been 6 months, and the way she attacked me just has me reeling. I wonder if I should confront her again or give her an ultimatum or see if she's open to couples counseling. Or is it really just over? I love her so much and I can't imagine doing life without her. Roth replies to that and says, wait, you mentioned Chuck makes good money in another comment. He's been living with you for 6 months when he always had the financial means to leave. And he's aware he's causing you problems in your marriage and is still in no rush to leave. You can't even explore your next steps regarding your marriage while he's sleeping in the guest room. I think you need to tell your wife that your soulmate telling you her soulmate is someone else is a marriage-ending statement, and that he needs to leave by date ASAP, so you can both talk, see where you're at emotionally about one another, and decide whether you need marriage counseling or separation and divorce. You can't work on a partnership by yourself. She's either willing to do this with you or she isn't. Admiral V says it's 100% an emotional affair. She's made up her mind about what's important, and sadly, it ain't you. In my honest opinion, it's time to make a decision. Ask her to sit down and have an important talk about your marriage or move on. It's better to be happy apart than miserable together. Mama replies to that and says, definitely an emotional affair, just as dangerous as a physical one. I vote no on the ultimatum too. Depending on whether she is financially dependent on you should also be a factor in whether she starts crying that you mean so much to her and she wants you to work on your marriage. Sorry to sound jaded, but like the old cheesy adage goes, you have to love yourself first before you can love another. Not that you should be selfish, of course, just take care of yourself too. Question for Life says, gay man here, I think I know what's going on, but let me explain. Many years ago, I had a co-worker who had a troubled marriage. She loved her husband, who was an engineer at an aviation firm. He made damn good money, and so did she, but their interest and compatibility was so different, which was problematic. I don't remember the differences except I think they liked to do their own thing and came together for sex and a few other things. I remember her confiding in me about it, and one of the things she blurted to me was she wished she could just marry a gay man. She could do without the sex, but wanted a man who was interested in shopping and watching guilty pleasure shows and movies, and talk about anything and everything, something she didn't have in her current marriage. Maybe that's what your wife has with Chuck. Not saying you're an insufficient as a husband, but maybe Chuck does a lot for her that interests them both, and you're just the guy she can sleep with. I'd ask her if this is what Chuck is to her, but honestly, I think you deserve more. One more comment from So Fluffy who says your wife is treating you like the third wheel in your own marriage. Won't even have a mature discussion about your feelings because she doesn't care about your feelings when it comes to Chuck. If you asked her, him or me, I'm sorry, but it clearly sounds like she would pick him over you because she already has. I know it hurts, but you deserve to have dignity in your relationship. You deserve someone who thinks of you as their soulmate. You deserve someone who puts your feelings first. You deserve someone who waits at home for you to join them before going out. You deserve someone who doesn't blow you off when you have a date. You deserve someone who cares and wants to make things better when your feelings are hurt. You deserve someone who doesn't instantly get defensive and starts deflecting blame when you tell them that they are hurting you. These are basic and normal functions in everyday marriages. Don't settle for less just because you are married. In a marriage, your partner's needs always comes first. You're asking your partner to prioritize you and what you need right now. You shouldn't have to tiptoe around this topic. Good luck. I'm really sorry about your struggle. Yeah, and I got to agree with a couple of these comments on that one, especially the emotional affair one. It said, there's so much wrong with that post in the way that she's treating the OP. And I don't know if you felt the same, but at the very beginning, when she allowed him to move in without even discussing it with you, that was huge to me. I was like, what the hell? Basically calling OP the third wheel, coming downstairs to find them cuddling on the couch. Yeah. OP updates the post and they said, recap, my wife M has a gay best friend, Chuck. Chuck's boyfriend broke up with him and he moved in with us. M has been spending all of her time with Chuck, and when I confronted her about it, she said he was her soulmate. I made my first post on Thursday. When I took the time to think about it all and type it all out, I realized how burned out I was with this work project. Friday morning, I met with my team and scheduled some time off coming up soon. I'm in a much better headspace just knowing that I have downtime soon. Em and I had our fight on Friday night, and I left on Monday and stayed out of town all week for my project. During that time, we did text back and forth every day, and we talked on the phone a few times. It was awkward because we both knew we needed to have a big talk, but over the phone was not the time or place. Em texted me this Friday and said Chuck was gone for the weekend, so we could spend time just the two of us, and that she wanted to make up for our missed date. I got home Friday evening and we agreed to talk before doing anything else. I'd written out everything I wanted to say and she sat and listened. We talked for a long time and we each went back to some things to get clarification. But I'm not going to try and replay everything we said, just the main parts in a way that makes the most sense. I told her how I did not like her joke about me being the third wheel, how much it hurt that she forgot our date, and then how crushed I was that she said Chuck was her soulmate. There were some other little things too. When I was done, she said she was sorry, and she was wrong for saying those things. She said I am not the third wheel and I am her soulmate, and she asked if she could explain why she did and said what she did. When Chuck's parents first kicked him out in high school, he was also in a bad place and had considered taking his life. He told Em's mum and they got him help. So when Chuck called in March about his boyfriend cheating on him, Em had freaked out and was afraid he was going to hurt himself. She said she felt like she needed him close so she could watch him and keep him safe. I made a comment about how for the past 6 months it seems like her and Chuck have been living their best life together, and she said that she has been miserable this whole time, that she has been on the verge of a nervous breakdown. After our fight, she knew she was wrong and realized she needed to get help and let it go. She talked with Chuck and he promised that he was a stronger person than he was in high school and promised that he was not even thinking about hurting himself. They agreed it was best if he moved out, both to give Em and I time to work on us and so Em wouldn't be obsessing over when he was coming and going. Em wanted to talk to me last Sunday, but I had said I needed time and she wanted to give me space. It was a long talk with lots of tears. She apologized a bunch of times and said she was so concerned with Chuck's mental health that she attacked me because she thought I was going to make him move out, and she was lashing out. She acknowledged that she hurt me and said she loves me and she wants to work on herself and find ways to deal with fear and worry in a healthy way. We have never really had a big fight before, and we both agreed that we could have handled it better. Her by not lashing out and me by not shutting down. We agreed to start couples counseling to help us learn how to disagree in a more healthy way. We were both emotionally drained after the talk, so we just ordered some food and stayed in. We cuddled in bed to watch TV, talk, and just be together. We have missed each other a lot these past few months, and it was really nice to just hold her. The next day, Saturday, we took a day date. We went to breakfast, went shopping, saw a movie, and even got pedicures together. My toes look amazing. Several times throughout the day, she would just stop and look at me and say she had missed me, and she was sorry she had pushed me away. Today, Sunday, we called Chuck, who was staying with another friend. He said he was sorry he'd caused so much stress for Em and me. He acknowledged he had been focused on himself and not even realized that we were not doing well. He said he loved us both and is so grateful that we let him stay while he was getting over his breakup. He's looking at a few places and plans to be out in the next week or two. He did offer to move out right away, but I'm okay with him staying a little longer. I think having a plan in place is the most important thing. Our relationship took a hit, but we love each other and we're going to work on it. We set some boundaries and also agreed to always make each other our top priority. I have a few more months left on this project. They're going to make a point to go on a proper date at least once a week and reserve some cuddle time on the weekends. Thank you to everyone who replied or sent me a message based on my first post. I got some really good advice. I'm hoping this experience will make us better and make our relationship stronger. And the comments after this one were pretty much all over the place. Some people saying they don't buy the wife's story. Other people saying, they're pretty okay with this outcome. And others just pointing out that he got his toes done. And fair play to him. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and says, am I the arsehole for telling my wife to work more if she wants to help her sister financially? My wife, 38 female, and I, 37 male, have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids, 10, 8, and 5. We both work full time and have the kids in daycare during the summer until school starts up again. We both make decent money, but with the cost of literally everything going up more and more often, our budget is getting tighter. We still live comfortably within our means, but we are saving much less and are being more conscious of our discretionary spending. Our youngest is starting kindergarten this fall, so that will help because we aren't spending on daycare anymore. But our oldest kids are now in more sport and extracurricular activities, which pretty much offset any saving we would be doing on childcare. We aren't anywhere near struggling, but we are definitely more aware of how we spend our money now. My wife's younger sister, Jen, 30 female, is 6 months pregnant with a 3rd child. Jen is not married and this is her 3rd different baby daddy. Only one of the first 2 fathers is involved. The other is a complete deadbeat who regularly skips child support payments. Jen recently called my wife and told her that her current baby's dad left her and she's freaking out and asking for help. Whether that be money, a place to stay, anything. My wife's parents are both passed away and they have no other siblings, just each other. Obviously, my wife wants to do whatever we can to help, but we don't have the space to house them and don't have a lot of extra money to give them either. My wife wants to give Jen a few $100s every month and to start watching her 2 older kids so Jen can keep working. Personally, I think that idea is short-sighted because Jen won't be able to work after the new baby comes. My idea was to dip into savings and pay for a lawyer for Jen to do a better job of getting the child support she is owed. I'd rather bite a bigger bullet once than death by 1,000 cuts over months and months. But my wife says that won't help put food on Jen's table every week. I laid out our budget and asked my wife where we can make cuts to support Jen, because I just don't see it. I asked her what she would be willing to give up, or have our kids go without, to support Jen. She got mad at me and called me heartless for not wanting to help. It turned into a fight and I ended up telling her that if she wants to support a sister like this, she's going to need to work more or get a second job because I'm not compromising our family budget long term. All of our finances are shared, so it's not like either of us has our own money to use however we want. I also know that my wife and I are the only family Jen has, and I agree that we should help. But adding hundreds or possibly more to our monthly budget isn't going to work. Jen needs more help than we can provide, and she needs to find resources that can do that for her. But my wife thinks I'm being an uncaring arsehole about this. I don't think you are being an uncaring arsehole in this situation. I think you're just being very clear about your financial situation as well. You offered to get a lawyer. I don't know how that all sort of works, but surely if she was able to get child support from some of these dads, it'd be far more beneficial than you just throwing a few $100s at her every month. And you're not going to be able to do that forever. It sounds like what you was offering could potentially be a more permanent solution, which is the best way forward, surely. Kachoka says, not the arsehole. The cold, hard truth is that you don't have the financial bandwidth to send several $100s a month to a sister without either going into debt, penalizing your children by taking things away from them, or compromising your future. This does not make you uncaring. What it makes you is a man who prioritizes his immediate family first. It's not about wanting to help, it's about understanding the limitations of your own financial situation. If she wants to help her sister, she's going to need to increase that bandwidth. There's a cost associated with being her sister's savior. She's just refusing to acknowledge that right now. Unfortunately, you're going to need to keep a close eye on your finances. The wife may well try to do end run around you in order to help. Space Jesus is here says, "Not the arsehole." OP is trying to find a long-term solutions and discuss long-term practicalities. It's a virtual certainty that over the next decade, the prices of basic necessities will continue going up faster than salaries. If OP's wife can't point to any possible budget cuts today, what are the chances that supporting the sister and 3 kids will ever get any easier for OP's family? Plus, once the support starts, cutting her off will be virtually impossible. OP, for your kids' sake, this would be a hill I die on. If your wife wants to send money, especially monthly, then she needs to do 2 things. First, tell you where the budget cuts are coming from. Is Timmy done with soccer? Is the family no longer eating meat? Will you stop saving for retirement? Second, your wife needs to acknowledge that if the budget gets tighter in the future, it's up to her to make and take the blame for future cuts with the kids. But above all, do not let your wife put you into credit card debt for this. It will fuck up your kids' lives. Tell her it's either help with a lawyer or she has to resolve the budget. And the comments pretty much just continued down that path. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.